what I got today, man. It's all I got for you.
No worries, bro. And I think we're about ready to go here.
Cool.
Yep. That says go live, and there's usually a couple seconds lag time where I do this every time. Only people on YouTube get to experience this portion.
The good old YouTube
And I
folks.
think yet again, maybe, possibly, maybe we're live. Yeah, I think we're live. We're going to pretend we're live. I'm going to pretend we're live. Hey, everybody. It is
I'm alive.
Wednesday. It is Wednesday. Yes, it's Wednesday.
Yeah.
And that means it's the Evan and Aaron show. I'm Aaron. There we go.
Hey.
I'm Evan. I'm not Evan. That's Evan. Oh, wow. I'm Aaron. I'm Aaron. We'll get this right eventually.
We'll get it right.
I'm Aaron. Right, this is Evan. As you can see, it's been a bit of a week for everybody. But cheers. Welcome to the show.
Yes. I've been looking forward to this all day.
Some fun things to talk about this week. First off, got to say it right up front. Super Bowl did not go how I expected, nor how I wanted. But I do have to admit that there's no question that Tom Brady is hands down the best quarterback to play in the National Football League, and I really don't see how anybody would dispute it at this point. I mean, what he's accomplished and for how long he's done it, all of the metrics that you would use to put together an argument, he checks all the boxes. I think it's a little unfair to the rest of his team because they played great as well. They put Kansas City in a box. I tell you, the Tampa Bay defensive coordinator deserves immense credit for shutting down the machine that is Patrick Mahomes. But yeah, Tom Brady's always going to walk away with the plaudits, and he deserves it. I don't like it, but it is what it is. And I have to admit, most of my things that I don't like about him are pretty petty and not really with merit. So,
but can I say something real quick, man, about that game? Here's what I think. I'm going to say it, and you're going to laugh, and that's okay. Just because of their running game in that situation, I think the Cleveland Browns may have had a better showing in that game than Kansas City did.
Yeah,
I'm just going to throw it out there.
I certainly think that it was shocking to me how ineffective Kansas City was. They didn't score a touchdown. I mean, that's mind blowing to me. And I really, really thought they were just going to put the clamps down. I just thought they had too much for Tampa Bay, but it just goes to show this is why we play the game.
Dude, and that's what killed me. I'm like, Kansas City is usually really, really good at making adjustments. Mm-hmm. And they the only thing they adjusted was like their jock straps. And that, that's just simply because they got them handed to them. Yes. That's exactly what happened.
Well,
they look incredible.
I will say this. The halftime show I thought was very, very good. I know it was polarizing. The halftime show was probably as polarizing as Tom Brady is. I think first off, you either like big event halftime shows or you don't. So that's going to be a line in the sand as well. Yep. And I think you either like the Weeknd and this crazy persona that he's got and how he's doing things, or you don't. Really, it's kind of, there's not much room for an in between here. Because the dude is just a straight up, pop musician. He is out there to be a spectacle. And I thought he did a great job. I thought the sound was a little poor at first. Yeah. And I thought he entertained. Man's got a hell of a voice. The visual imagery, I thought it was kind of cool, but I could see why it wouldn't be some people's bag.
I'm right there with you.
I think it's better than plenty of other halftime shows I've seen in my life. And you know what? Prince is the gold standard. We're never going to top that. It's pretty unlikely. I mean, that was a Hall of Fame halftime performance, but get over it. Other people are allowed to come and perform. And I think he did a great job.
Thank you very much. So here, and dude, I echo every single thing that you said. You needed to watch that with two things in mind. Number one, like you said, He's an entertainer.
Mm-hmm.
The guy knows how to entertain. And if you're looking for, I don't know what people are looking for, quite frankly. There will never be another Prince. There will never be another Whitney Houston singing the national anthem. There'll never be another J-Lo and Shakira doing J-Lo and Shakira. I mean,
Right.
there just never will be. And so I think that, I think that the other thing you needed to watch this with was an understanding that we are in a pandemic, and so we can't do things necessarily. We can't do things. Yes, you were right about the sound. The sound was bad, and there were times where it's like, okay. No, and JoJo, I'm giving you all kinds of thumbs up because I enjoy his music and stuff like that. You're there for the show. I'm gonna have to push back. My mic is not on.
I can hear you, but I'm not getting the boom of the Evan voice.
The boom. Is it?
How about now?
Yeah, there we go. I was like, why does Evan not sound like late night?
There we go. Yeah.
The Night Watch with Evan Casey.
So anyway, wait, hey, Taylor's here. Taylor, yay!
Hey, Taylor.
But what I would say is that I do, JoJo. I do think I think he's an entertainer. I think he can be a showman. But I think that the Super Bowl just not having the same vibe that it did, it has to take its toll. I mean, it just has to take its toll on somebody.
That's where I totally agree. I don't know what he might have done differently. But very obviously they couldn't have fans surrounding him the way previous Super Bowls would. He couldn't interact with the crowd the way he could. I thought it was impressive that it appeared his initial stage setup seemed to be above rows of seats in the stadium. So I thought that was just an impressive thing right there. But again, I mean, this is this is what's fun, especially when we've spent the last 4 years with such divisive political rhetoric going on. It's kind of fun to have something where I can disagree with somebody and not feel like they've betrayed mankind because they've taken a different point of view. Like, it doesn't hurt me one bit. It doesn't harm me one bit if somebody was like, "Oh my God, the fucking Weeknd, what a terrible performance." That's a perfectly legit opinion. If it didn't,
The Weeknd is my savior and Lord and Savior. Damn it! What's wrong with you?
I'm not storming the fucking Capitol building because somebody doesn't like the Weeknd. It's not a big deal. It's kind of nice.
But too soon to jump in? Should we jump in? White and nerdy, yes.
Weird Al at a halftime show would be funny.
Oh God.
But yeah,
wow.
I think what's funny too is viewership was down, and I think part of that was two smaller market teams going at it. If you weren't already a Chiefs fan, and let's face it, they won last year. So if you're a casual fan, this game didn't have a whole lot for you unless you had either a soft spot or a hatred for Tom Brady, in which case you stopped watching probably early in the third quarter. I thought some of the commercials were definitely funny.
I stuck it out to the fourth.
We watched the whole thing. But
IO.
What else were we going to do? What's good, IO?
Man. Talk about you're talking about the commercials. There were a couple really good ones. Ashton, Mila, and and Shaggy. That for me, that was absolutely hilarious.
That was a great one. Yeah,
that was good. What was your favorite?
I thought that was pretty good. And gosh, I'm trying to think. And there's no point in ever trying to remember what the actual product being sold was.
Oh yeah, no. No, forget it.
Which makes it even more difficult because now you're like, what? But there was one right as they came in back to the third quarter, which is always a high profile spot that I thought was pretty good. I actually thought I know this will get a boo, but I thought the Oatly commercial was good.
Okay.
I was
cracking up, dude.
He's like, fuck it. I only have $5.5 million. I do not have the money to hire talent. So you know what? I love this company. I'm singing a song.
Yes.
Good on him. Just good on him.
I'm like, you know what? If I liked oat milk, that's the oat milk I would buy right there, man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, because it took some balls to stand up to just do that and be like, hey, well, and what's up? You know,
oat milk. I'm not even sure I knew oat milk existed. So I'm guessing oat milk sales spiked 4 million% the next day. Just walking down the aisle and you're like, it's fucking oat milk. I know there's almond milk.
Oat milk sales spiked because of, Napoleon Dynamite lovers. That's exactly what that commercial sounded like. It sounded like Napoleon doing his thing on the, So, God, anyway. That was hilarious, man. But yeah, it was just terrible. It was like, and I cannot get over the fact, man, that it's trendy amongst the youths, the Utes. Thanks, Taylor, for dropping that knowledge on us. Appreciate it.
Wait, I thought you're over 30 and we're nerdy.
Oh, well,
which is it?
Yeah, that's true.
Are you in tune with the hip Fishers kids that come up?
I think she's saying that from a point of wisdom. I think she's like, oh, the youths, those crazy kids. I just can't get over the fact that I can't get over the fact that I'm 4 years older than the guy, and he's still winning Super Bowls. Like, it's like, what the?
Yeah, which again, it makes it all the more impressive. I mean, you look at other sports and the longevity of certain athletes, and pretty much anybody you mention is in some form or another a GOAT. I mean, you just can't play to that age at such a high level, and quite frankly, does not look at all as if he's going to slow down. Why he would feel the need to play on any longer when, quite frankly, at this point, look, no matter how good a shape he's in, as you get older, the bones just don't heal as well. All the shit doesn't heal as well.
Yeah.
I don't know that an injury is worth an 8th ring at this point, but
dude, no one can get a good shot on the guy. I mean, well, I don't understand that. Like, you've got some monsters coming at you, especially in the NFC, and no one can lay a finger on this guy.
Well, and I thought KC did a pretty good job of it when they played during the regular season, so I was expecting more of that. But, they made the adjustments that they needed to. Did you happen to see, first off, they had a boat parade and Brady threw the Lombardi trophy from his boat to Gronk's boat, and they caught it cleanly. But I thought, oh man, I have a feeling Roger Goodell was ready to make a phone call, and then the next video he saw was Tom Brady being helped through a building door because he very
that was beautiful.
Avocado tequila.
Oh my God. But
you know what? They've earned it. That was like Ovechkin being on like a 3-day bender. Mahomes catching the can on the bus last year and chugging it. I mean, these athletes deserve it. Man. So I
like what Io put. He said oat milk sounds like something colonizers would drink. Well, speaking of colonizers.
Yeah, have you probably I'd like to see the demographic data on that one. I don't know though. I've never tried to milk an oat, so I don't know how difficult it is.
Trump does it really well because of his tiny hands. Oh, is it too soon?
It's not too soon. Fuck his hands.
Okay, good. All right.
I think that's a good time to transition to the other big news that's going on.
Yes.
I don't know how much you've had a chance to watch. I've frankly not watched much of the impeachment. I've gone back and watched some videos of it. I did right before the show started. I did watch the video that the Democrats played today, and I don't know if you've seen it, but it's they basically splice live footage from the security cameras, but they've also got like a 2D rendering model of the Capitol building, and then they've got dots showing the rioters coming in and how they were moving through the building, so you could see how close they were getting to Congress people and how long it took him to evacuate Pence. And I've completely forgotten his whole family was there.
Yeah.
Well,
several representatives and senators' families were there.
Which is a common occurrence. But I just thought, oh my God, not only could you have potentially gotten killed at work for doing your job, but your family's there. Look, yeah. I got no soft spot for Mike Pence at all. But the last thing I would want is for that man to not just die, but die in front of his wife and children at the hands of insurrectionists that the day before would have loved him. And it was a really, really horrifying spectacle to watch that video. But I even posted this too, just from a pure competence level. You've got, I mean, this is a massive trial. This is unheard of, a second impeachment trial. And the point of it is to hold a president accountable for a riot and a violent insurrection and potentially, you know, a capital takeover, if you will. And to prevent him from holding any future office if they do find him guilty of it. And his lawyers have spelling errors in all their memos to all their filings. And then the guy yesterday went on some just meandering, I'm just going to chat for a while, like, oh shit, the book report is due today kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And meanwhile, the Democrats have like a fully polished video syncing up security camera footage to, you know, a readout of, you know, a digital display of where people are. I mean, look, I know who I want representing me, but more importantly, it's become very clear how horrible this was, how close Mike Pence and a few other people were to dying that day. And that without question, Trump wanted this. And he created this environment.
Sure. Absolutely. And the fact is that whenever, you know, you look at this, Aaron, you said it right. I don't know how you don't look at that video and say to yourself, they were going to kill somebody. Like they literally were going to kill somebody. You know, there's parts of that video that you see Chuck Schumer having to be not escorted, but ran in the opposite direction.
Mitt Romney has to turn and run.
He's got to turn around and run. And yet,
it's a question. Why was Mitt Romney not in chambers at that point?
Well, yeah,
just roaming the halls while the vote's going on.
Well, no, because I saw on the news that the independent senator, was he a senator or representative from Maine? I forget the guy's name, but he was like in his small office in the basement getting ready to make statements during during it. And so he wasn't even up there. So Mitt may not have been up there. He may have been getting ready, but Jessica made a statement by Americans, and I know she was talking about the insurrectionists, but we are seeing Americans that have taken an oath to uphold the Constitution. We're seeing Americans deny, like, fact again. We're seeing them deny the fact that this person incited people to riot, and they're wanting to get technical and say, well, he didn't say this, he incited people to take action to stop a democratic process from happening.
When he laid the groundwork, I mean, months before the election, he said, look, if I lose, it'll be because they cheated. There's no way.
Exactly. And yet we have people sitting in the chamber today, Aaron, today
saying the same thing.
No, not saying anything, just sitting there with their feet up on the desk, Josh Hawley, reading, like not even participating in this because they don't care. They don't care.
Yeah.
It's a travesty. It should not happen this way. And it's a glimpse into, if you ever wanted to see in your lifetime, if you ever wanted to see a political party die, watch this impeachment trial.
Yeah.
Watch it. Because we thought the death knell was the 6th of January for the GOP. That was the fatal shot. This is the death rattle that's happening right now.
Let's hope, and let's hope a better, truly traditional conservative, yet somewhat liberally enlightened by the times Republican Party or whatever they call themselves emerges, because we need it. The system barely works as it is, but you got to have two parties. You've got to have ideas bouncing off one another, and it's got to be more than just conspiracy theories and a desire to hold power. It has to be more than that.
I have a question for you, man, and I've been wanting to ask you this question about it. What do we do with the senators and representatives who help perpetuate this?
Well, I think one step at a time. I personally believe they should be held accountable. But I think you have to convict Trump on impeachment first, because let's face it, without that, it's not going to happen. I think they should hold the final vote in secret, the way the Republicans voted for their own thing a week or so ago. I think it should be in secret. I think by secret ballot, plenty of them will defect, if you will, from the current thinking that they all have to stick together. I think there's definitely 10 that are going to go, but we need 17. So it seems unlikely. I think by secret ballot, it would be a lot more likely. In fact, I think we'd see high numbers. I think we might see, 25 or so. Maybe not.
We get McConnell that way.
Yeah, he would likely.
I'm not a McConnell fan, guys, and I'm
no, but I'm with you.
Absolving him of anything.
He wants Trump gone, but he's also playing a very specific political role.
Okay, so Io brings up a point. Says I disagree. I think the Republican Party will withstand this because a majority of white people still rock with them. Well, I think. Oh man, Io,
not wrong.
You're not wrong. I'm just wanting to look at this glass half full. That's exactly. I'm with you on that. I'm just wanting to look at it glass half full and say that it'll split. The party will split.
Yeah, that's what's about to happen. The question is, will the Republican Party reclaim itself? Will Mitt Romney and Mitch McConnell and supposedly, conservatively idealist guys or people, sorry, will they maintain control of the Republican Party, or will they cede control? Will they leave? Will they branch off? And will the GOP henceforth be controlled by Josh Hawley and Marjorie Taylor Greene and things like that? In which case they'll marginalize themselves, because
sure, absolutely.
And that sort of schism will be problematic for both of those parties for probably at least half a decade, because the money will not follow completely either side. They'll split the money, and they'll split votes, and we'll really see how many people believe, in true conservative American ideals versus whatever this new bullshit mindset is.
Sure. Taylor is saying, I think it depends on what you mean by held responsible. Do you mean politically, civically, criminally? I think what I'm thinking as far as held responsible, I think a little bit of all of those. I think politically they need to be held responsible because they're supposed to represent their entire constituency, not just the majority, but you're supposed to represent the entirety of the people that you represent. So, I mean, for you to be this partisan, for you to not represent those people in your district who did not vote for you, I think is a travesty. I think, criminal or civically, quite frankly, that'll come once again, that'll come for me through the ballot box. I think people will see this evidence. They'll see what's going on in this trial, and they'll be like, you're not doing the right thing here, bud. And I think, criminally, well, heck, I think we know that, the New York District Court is just, salivating, waiting for this impeachment trial to be over, so that they can, go to work on Trump, criminally.
Well, and Georgia opened an investigation into Trump's phone call. Which I assume that would either fall under election tampering, or perhaps, some sort of, I don't know what necessarily the legal term would be. And I've just drawn a complete blank. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no. We're getting a lot of really good stuff here. Taylor says, I disagree, IO. While white people are members of traditional GOP, I very much believe that in order to retain power, they'll have to do a brand overhaul to survive. Agree with Aaron. And absolutely. I mean, I still believe the split is going to happen. I do not think that as a whole, you can coexist with Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't think that Marjorie Taylor Greene can coexist with Liz Cheney. I don't think those two things can happen.
You can't have a big tent in which somebody wants to burn the tent down.
Yeah. I mean, that's just not good. They're going to have to go, either the Qs are going to have to go somewhere, or, the Republican, the GOP is going to have to, and like you said, Taylor, rebrand themselves some other way. They both can't have the elephant. They both can't have it. And
right.
And it's just not going to work. I love what Jessica said. Good white people have a full plate going forward. This is our fight, our people, on grassroots level, on a community level. Yep. Jessica, yes. This is what I've been saying ever since we started talking about racial equity. The white community has to take this off the black community's plate. We have been championing this for a long time. And, you got to do your work. You got to do your homework. You got to do your study, and get this done. But you're right. Taking that to the political realm, I mean, yeah, this is we.
Okay, but I absolutely agree with that. But we need to create an environment, and I don't know how to do this, where people don't want to be racist, where people want to be equitable. I mean, I can, we can mandate, we can have affirmative action. We can say, hey, let's make sure we hire, more black coaches in the NFL. Let's make sure that, people allowed into secondary education programs and stuff like that meet a certain quota. That's fine. That doesn't change people's minds about racism. In fact, in a lot of ways, it reinforces already racist people with that. Those are the people who are like, oh, well, you know what? If, there was another racist incident the other day, and well, if those guys just wouldn't take a knee and put their fist in the air, it wouldn't remind them of anything. And I'm like, so it's up to people to not be offended by your racism, so the racism won't take place. That just doesn't make sense. Yeah. My point is, I don't know how we get there, but there are always going to be racist people in the world. There are always going to be people who want more than others for greedy reasons, and those people are going to continue to run for office.
Sure. Affirmative action, though, and I do need to say this: affirmative action, the Civil Rights Bill, those are technical answers to technical problems. Like they work, but the problem is exactly what you're saying. We're using technical solutions to deal with adaptive problems. We're asking people. We're in essence asking people to change how they think, how they believe, we're asking them to change their hearts. You can't legislate that. Mm-hmm. You can legislate people getting jobs. You can legislate people having the opportunity. You can legislate people getting into those positions. But once they're in there, that's not enough. That's not enough. Because once you're in that job, you're still going to get harassed. You're still going to get, the looks. You're still going to hear the comment, well, you're an equal opportunity hire. You're still going to hear that BS. And so I think the same thing can apply to, what's going on in GOP. You can impeach this man. Absolutely. And he should be. He should never hold office ever, ever again. But the problem is that we're using this technical solution and expecting an adaptive change, and it doesn't work that way. An adaptive change is going to take people changing their minds about shit.
Well, and two things happen and are happening right now. There are people who are, seeing this video, hearing more about what was going on, hear how planned it was, how coordinated it was, and are sickened that Republican politicians and perhaps their congressperson is supporting it, going along with it. There have been thousands of people defecting from the Republican Party state to state because of their actions. And there will be people who are more will occur in the next few days and probably in the next few months. At the same time, Q people are being emboldened by the impeachment trial. And when he is probably not convicted, they will continue to push conspiracy theories, and they will continue further and further into their hole. I don't know how to reach those people. I'm not sure there's value in reaching those people, but those people seem to want us dead. So it behooves me to figure out a conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point, my friend. Yeah. That, I believe, brings us to halftime, man.
Right on. You got one this week?
You know what? I really don't. I don't have one this week.
And then I'm going to be sort of the go back to the original and say that our local watering hole.
Oh, I love that.
Is featuring the well, I guess not annual, every couple of years now. Lamb stew. Yes. And it's delish, folks. If you can get there, get you some. It's yummy. And apparently you're going to be able to sit at the bar and see the lovely faces of JoJo, Gabe, everybody, Rudy, everybody at the bar. So shout out to the original, the OGs, Chatham Tap, downtown, my side of town, and of course, the home of Fishers. Cheers. Sláinte.
Sláinte. Oh,
staying in Fishers.
I was going to say that is the perfect segue, my friend. Perfect segue. Two educational things I want to talk about today. The first one being yesterday, Hamilton Southeastern sent a letter out to parents, and this was the superintendent claiming that he had received some letters from concerned parents that teachers were teaching Black Lives Matter to their students. And so he said, you know what, we need to treat this as a political thing and not show any favoritism towards it. And during the, JoJo is chiming in with the lamb stew. And, during the course of it, that we really, should treat this as any other political issue. Thankfully, there were so many people that raised such a stink about this because, Black lives are not a political matter. It's actually a matter of life and death. That they did a complete retraction today. I don't know if you had a chance to read that, but they reeled it back today. But my question to you is this: why? What repercussion do you think should come from this, if any? And then what does that tell you as a person about good old Hamilton Southeastern in Fishers if you didn't know people here? Let's just put it that way.
Well, I read the article yesterday and I had a particular feeling in response to it. And I read it again today, and I felt similarly as I did yesterday. And I intentionally tried to read the article as if I had no idea of anything involved. So here's my first take on it. My take is that the superintendent felt he had to address concerns of parents, and that as superintendent, his job is to look after all kids in his jurisdiction, be they in kindergarten all the way up through high school. I'm sure the complaints came from high school parents. And I think the superintendent chose what he thought was a safe path. Now, I know generically the players involved. I know why Hamilton Southeastern parents would push back. I can probably guess what their motivations are. But I will say this. Black Lives Matter as an organization is a political movement. It is a socio-political movement, but you cannot ignore that it exists to create policy change on various levels across the country. And I think, again, the superintendent chose what he thought was a safe route here. I don't think he was attempting to dismiss Black Lives Matter. And in fact, his follow-up statement, I thought, used the correct wording as to what they want to be promoting in the school. But I don't know if I want a 10th grade civics teacher having a class conversation about defund the police and attempting to unpack that. I don't know. Now, I'm not an educator, and I don't know where you're encouraged to draw and not draw certain lines about things they want to teach in public schools. Okay. And that's a big point of controversy in and of itself in current times. I don't know how to talk about this topic without overtly taking a side. And I think that's what the superintendent is trying to avoid. Because I'm just going to throw this out there. I'm in no way equating the two. But what if you've got a teacher that is sympathetic to the Proud Boys movement or to a white supremacist movement? And as long as they don't talk about religion, should they have the right to not just discuss that, but promote it in class? They are not equivalent. I'm in no way saying so. I'm saying that's the argument that's going to be made. And I think the superintendent maybe punted a little bit. But I would have been just as surprised if the superintendent said HSE is all in for Black Lives Matter. My two cents.
Okay. I'm letting it marinate. But while I let it marinate, I'll say this as an educator. Whenever you, and this is just me, but whenever students bring up things like Black Lives Matter, yes, I mean, that's exactly where I'm going with this. When they talk about Black Lives Matter, yes, I understand that it's a considered a political organization with social justice roots to it. The civil rights movement was a political movement. It was very political, and within being political, you can also be, a social justice movement. Being political during that time was very, very nebulous in thought, just simply because you could go here and there. It can be considered a church movement. It could be considered an ethnic movement for Black people. It can be considered a political movement. When you slap the term political on things nowadays, you do begin to associate it with groups like the Proud Boys, with groups like white supremacist groups, because they are considered terrorist groups, but they have a very political slant to them. They support the extreme right. Black Lives Matter is not about supporting any politics. They just want people to understand Black Lives Matter, and they will get it done through whichever. It doesn't even matter your politics, through whoever will listen. And so for me as an educator, usually what happens is a student will bring that up. I don't have that evidence, Aaron. I don't know that that's what happened. But if a student brings it up, I would rather be there as an educator to guide that conversation, no matter how I feel about it, but to guide the conversation. And point in fact, we had a discussion in class. Now, granted, it's college, but we had a discussion in class where one of my students who is a staunch Trump supporter, actually said, you know what? I have regrets for doing that. And there was not a single person in my class that got up and stood up and said, yeah. You know why? Because as an educator, I had already trained my classroom to understand that other people's opinions matter. And so if you have done that as an educator, you should be able to have these discussions when students bring these discussions to you. Now, as a teacher myself, unless I'm going through African-American history in my African-American history class, which we talk about Black Lives Matter and we compare that to the civil rights movement. Unless I'm doing that, I probably won't bring it up. But if a student brings it up in the midst of a conversation, then we should stop and we should have that conversation, in my opinion, because it's a place of learning. It's a place of being able to experience other people's opinions. And unless we start doing that, we'll never get to a place to where we were, pre-Trump, to be quite honest with you. And I'm not saying we were awesome then, but we were somewhere.
Well, I think you're absolutely spot on, but I also think you're a college professor,
Yes.
and you are bound and more likely not bound in ways that high school and lower levels are not. And
do you remember where I teach, man? I can't say it out loud, but I mean, yeah, no, but I get it. You're right. There's so many more.
But they're still between the ages of 18 and 22 years old and are operating in the world. And you, as a professor, and just being in college, the parameters are different. And to Io's point, the civil rights movement is taught as history. It's a thing that happened in the 60s. That's it. It's compartmentalized. It's a chapter long. It is not a current events topic. Black Lives Matter is a current events topic. If the civics class has current events and can figure out a way to talk about it, good. But most adults don't have the nuance to have a discussion about the Black Lives Matter movement and the systemic abuse that goes on in our system. And let's face it, just saying there's systemic abuse in our system is a contentious point in America and as an educational point of view. That would be met with massive resistance by a lot of people. And sure. I'm simply acknowledging that fact. Would I love it? Would I love it if there was in fifth or sixth grade, they were like, hey, the Black Lives Matter movement, we should, because that's where it begins. But this is the kind of education that has to be done at home in the house. I don't want to put this off on a high school teacher with the burdens they already have. And I think that's where the superintendent landed.
But I think you landed on something that makes a lot of sense, is that if we truly look at the trajectory of the civil rights movement, we will see that Black Lives Matter is merely just another what do you call it? Another facet of the movement, because the movement is still happening. People think the civil rights movement stopped in 1964.
Absolutely,
it didn't.
Right. You're absolutely right, but you also know that's not how school works. That's not how education works.
Exactly. That's not how America works. That's not how the American education system works, Aaron. And once again, we did not prep for this at all. But the next thing I wanted to talk about in education literally leads right into that. because I saw a story, and I'm just pulling it up right now, that Republican state lawmakers want to punish schools that teach the 1619 Project. I don't know if you're, and I know, I think you're familiar with the 1619 Project, but for those of you who aren't, the New York Times had in 2019 did an incredible podcast that was titled The 1619 Project, and it looked at slavery. It took slavery and put it at the center of American history, of U.S. history, and it was phenomenal. But you have lawmakers, and once again, I used to say I hate doing this, but I'm just stating a fact. Republican lawmakers in Arkansas, Iowa, Mississippi, Missouri, and South Dakota, all Republicans, filed bills that said that it would cut funding to K-12 schools who taught from this award-winning project. Now, let's take this back to the conversation that we were currently having. Why are we spending so much time discussing whether or not, Black history is part of American history? Let's boil it down to what it is. Because if we truly believe that Black Lives Matter is a political movement, and I like what Taylor said, Taylor kind of took it and flipped it on its head. She said, by proxy, by granting BLM political, a political tag, does it kind of give them speech protections? Like, can you talk about it? Like you said, as far as the civil rights, can you talk about it like a chapter in a book? Because I think that this goes so much deeper. And I think that everybody that's been watching, we've all been circling around this tonight. And it's so funny because the impeachment trial, and we've constantly said, Aaron, and I've heard you say this many times during this podcast, and I've said it too, that the one thing to thank Donald Trump for was the fact that we can now more easily identify those people who are white supremacists, those people who are the most sickest in our society. And I think what this does is that it brings to light how badly and how desperately they still want to control the narrative of education in this country. It started with the Daughters of Confederacy, whenever they went through and said, oh, slaves were happy and their slave masters treated them well, and they were really appreciative of that. That was in history books until the 1970s, man. And so we're seeing the same thing happening. And I don't know. I mean, I've talked a lot, and I'm going to shut up because I want to hear what you have to say about it. But that's just, I mean, it's stuff like this, man, that's got to make you, do the CNC Music Factory, things that make you go, what's up with that?
Well, the victors write the history books. And for generation upon generation upon generation, privileged white folks have gotten to write those history books, and they think there's X amount of pages allowed in a history book rather than just adding more chapters because the world goes on. And they decide how long those books are. And, the Texas school boards routinely shoot down any attempt at, giving any more detail about the real life of what went on, with slavery, the Civil War, things of that nature. Yep. So this is kind of what I was talking about earlier, though. We've got to figure out we're going to change a few people's minds along the way, but really what we're trying to do is sort of breed out the bad and start educating from an early age the good. Racism,
eugenics with a cause. There you no, I'm just kidding.
You might be able to change an 85-year-old Klan member's mind at some point.
Ooh.
Might happen. It would not be the first, but I think it's a whole lot easier to get his 5-year-old grandkid playing with your, Black 5-year-old son or Asian 5-year-old daughter, whatever, and them learning from an early age that when you learn from an early age, you don't learn about racism. You just learn that people are equal and have value. So you're not changing any behaviors. You're creating. You have to take 85 years of learned, ingrained, and reinforced experience, right? Any bad experience that man had with a Black person in their life only serves to further reinforce the mindset that they already have, right? Versus if his grandchild just grows, you know what main thing would change grandpa's mind is when 5-year-old Bobby Joe comes home from school with his buddy Cameron and says, "Hey, Grandpa, it's my buddy Cameron." And Grandpa pretty much either has to be a rude old racist bastard, or he has to see in a moment that, oh my God, my son's got a playmate, or my grandson's got a playmate and a friend, and that kid deserves value. That's the only thing that's really going to change. And that goes back to King, man. Yeah, hate doesn't change hate, love changes. And I don't know how to change the system. All I know is we have to begin making the system get to people early enough that the racism just doesn't even happen.
Yeah.
And I wish I had the answer, because I'd bottle it and I'd give it away for free on the street corner, but I don't.
There you go.
I just don't. And that's what we're facing right now is you've got, and they're not everybody's an extremist like Marjorie Taylor Greene or Lauren Boebert, but still thinks that I don't really want, I don't want you expanding the curriculum either. That's going a little too far,
Right.
They're the casual racists. That's casual racism in this country. Like, I don't, I'm not mad about them, but I don't think they get another chapter in the book. I mean, come on.
Right.
Right. And that's where we are. And whether we like it or not, no matter what the last election says, those people have school board seats. Those people are driving policy. How to combat that? I don't know, man. Run
It's
ourselves.
Hard. Man. I tell you, man, this is why I love this, man. Just to hear you pontificate like you do, my brother. That's what I'm talking about. So I think it's time.
All right, man, let's get to it.
I think it's time. And it's been, man, guys, it's been a long week. It has been a week where I just gotta be honest. I was talking to Aaron before we came on the broadcast. I am literally exhausted. I may go to bed at 9:00 tonight.
Do it.
I really may go to bed. And I'm sorry. It just is what it is. But
I don't work again until Tuesday, so I will not be going to bed at 9:00 tonight.
I wish we could sync up, brother. I wish we could sync up. You know what? Next time you get a long break like that, let me know, man. I'd love to maybe get my passport updated and say, hey, let's go to Amsterdam real quick. But real quick on the PJ, on private jet, like
we can do it.
Whatever.
We can figure it out.
Whatever. But it is time, ladies and gentlemen, for the Hey Aaron segment of our show. And I'm pretty excited about this, but I'm also, I'm like, we'll see. I just want to see, and have you give running commentary. We've done this before, but I want to hear running commentary from Aaron about a video that I'm going to show.
Oh, Lord.
Okay.
All right.
Aaron has no idea what this video is, but I'm sure he's seen it before. But I want to hear his commentary on this video. Let me get it ready and queued up here. Oh, it is ready and queued up. Here we go. Are you ready, my friend?
Do it.
Okay. And away we go. So,
oh Jesus,
I'm going to turn the volume up a little bit, but I still want to hear you. Here we go.
Okay, first off, JoJo hit it on the head. This is some white people bullshit right here.
flaming hot. You can't
Now,
use
I've watched the
regular-
video and they do not seem to be manipulating anything, because there have been a lot of these food hack videos lately that are just bullshit. They aren't real. They're just fucking with you, and then you lose three minutes of your life. I don't know if, I mean,
They melt pretty quick, so you have
it's
to
not
move
surprising that
fast
they're
now.
melted. I don't know.
I'm adding
Somebody
one
commented
lime,
earlier about it,
just
the
full of
melting.
that
I mean,
hint of lime. I
it's
don't want
cheese
to
covered
put
in dust,
the
folks. It's
entire
gonna
bag
melt.
like I did with this one, okay? So we're
And
just putting
it's
about
just,
quarter
it's
of
a,
this one.
it's a processed corn chip. So come on, that shit's just gonna get soggy.
Oh,
So, I mean, this is not the worst idea I've heard. I mean, really,
really?
I wouldn't do it with the flaming hot, because flaming hot mac and cheese just doesn't sound all that great to me. But
Wait. I gotta pause it. I think she's being a little racist. That looks too much like Africa to me. I'm sorry. Looks like she poured it in.
There's no way. Trust me, there's no way she did it on purpose.
I'm just kidding. I'm just playing. I'm just
no
playing.
clue.
Just play. Oh my God, man.
Now you've already made 2 bags of cheese. Now, why would it need more cheesy flavor? But I don't know. I don't think the kids are gonna love this. You're also not clever with mac and Cheetos.
Like, okay, so it was funny because I wanted to play this. I had a friend of mine who's a nurse. She said that is a lot of red dye to be ingesting.
Oh yeah.
Oh, God.
See, now some food hacks are kind of interesting. I've seen the ones where, like, so you could take the Cheetos bag and you crunch them, you just mash them up.
Yeah.
And then you put 2 eggs in, roll the bag up, and then put the bag in boiling water, and you'll get flavored scrambled eggs. And I've seen hacks where people crush up different types of chips or whatever and use them as a breading or a topping.
Taylor, that is brilliant. That's brilliant right there.
Taylor, you have no idea how many times I have been making some sort of concoction at 2 a.m. and get a side eye from the significant other. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Dude.
It looks terrible. I mean, really, it looks artificial. But frankly, everything in that pot is artificial.
Yeah, it's not even real pasta.
I mean, mac and cheese has never been like organic.
Oh man. And she's gonna, like,
I think my personal problem is the flamin' hot. If they'd have gone with regular Cheetos, I think I'd be okay with it.
I still with that.
I still don't think it's gonna taste great, but I've made dumber high food mistakes. I can tell you that. I've definitely mixed way too many Chinese leftovers together.
What?
Yeah.
What's been the killer combination? Like what didn't work?
If you got too much of one sweet thing and too much of a sour of another or something like that. Yeah, I mean,
okay.
It's rare, and I still ate it, but
of course you did. But that was
because I was high.
Yeah. So I think that we both were taken aback by that. Guys, listen. Thank you so much for tuning in. Once again, like I always say, it's my second favorite part, and it's really a tie. I love the guy to my left, who actually may be sitting to my right, depending on how you watch this. I don't know. But this is a time in the show where Aaron gets to send us out. Guys, listen, thank you so much for your time. Black people continue to vote and press for reparations. So, Aaron, send us out, my friend, with the good word.
Yeah. The good words this week are Tom Brady's the GOAT at me. Trump's guilty at me.
Okay.
Black Lives Matter at me. And with that, I'm going to keep it brief. Everybody stay safe, stay healthy, stay warm. Don't get COVID. Wear your mask. Wear 2. Stay home. There ain't no reason to go out. It's like 19 degrees outside. Just seriously, have shit delivered.
Absolutely.
All right, everybody. Love you. Stay safe. Be good.
Take care, everyone. See you, my friend.
See you, sir. Bye-bye.